Mother.
Right. So we said there are two phylums which shows close resemblance to hemichordates. One is Annelida, the other one is Echinodermata. Now, so it is this Spengel, zoologist by name Spengel, in 1893, he was the first one to establish some kind of similarities between hemichordates and annelidans. Now, what is the main resemblance that these two phylums share? First thing is its body shape. Now, if you look at Balanoglossus, at the first instance, you can see that they all look worm-like, isn't it? Either they look like a bigger earthworm, or like some burrowing worm. So their body shape and their burrowing habit, because they live in U-shaped burrows. You have learned about the habitat of Balanoglossus. They live in U-shaped burrows, so they are tuberculous forms. When they are tuberculous forms, they should have the habit of burrowing, and when they live in tubes, it is quite obvious that they will be feeding on the mud, and they leave castings through the anus. Now, these characters are most common to annelidans, and the similar characters is also shown by the hemichordates. So that means these two phylums, they resemble each other in all these characters, right? Then here we said the circulatory system. When we spoke about the differences with chordates, we said that the hemichordates differ from chordates wherein their circulatory and nervous system is of invertebrate type. In what kind of circulatory system they show? They show circulatory system similar to that of annelidans, wherein the blood flows anteriorly in the dorsal blood vessel and it flows posteriorly in the ventral vessels. And if you look at the embryological evidence, that is the Tornaria larva, which is the larva of hemichordate, it appears more like a modified troposphere larva of polychaetes. Okay, these two larvae, the troposphere and the Tornaria larva, both of them, they show lot of resemblance, and because of which you can say that there is a close association between hemichordate and annelids. So these are the main resemblance that the hemichordates has with that of annelidans. But then they also differ with annelidans in few characters, like gill slits, which we spoke about, which are present in hemichordates, because of which we thought that they are, they can be put under protochordates, that these gill slits are absent in annelids. Annelids will not show these gill slits. And then the paired nerve cards which are present in annelidans are not seen in hemichordates. And when you come to larval differences, though we said Tornaria larva is a modified form of trochosphere, they have certain differences in which the first one is the nephridia, which are the organs of excretion. They are absent in Tornaria larva, but they are present in trochosphere larva. And then the preoral coelom is absent in trochosphere larva, that is the larva of annelidans, but it is present in the Tornaria larva of hemichordate. And then the blastopore. You know what is a blastopore? It is the opening of the gastrula through which it communicates towards the exterior. Now this blastopore, this gives rise to the formation of mouth, or the blastopore will form the future mouth in case of trochosphere larva, but in case of Tornaria larva, it forms the anus, right? So blastopore will give rise to mouth in case of trochosphere larva, and it gives rise to anus in Tornaria larva. So these are the differences between hemichordates and the annelidans. Fine. Now, what are the affinities with echinoderms? In its systematic position, we have placed hemichordates after echinoderms and then the protochordates and the chordates. That means these hemichordates are very close relatives of echinoderms. And it was proved by this person, Metchnikoff, in 1865. He said, or he showed, that these hemichordates and echinoderms are closely related. Now let us see what are the features in which they resemble with echinoderms. Now, as I said, they show a very strong affinity between these two phylum, wherein they show a very strong embryological evidences. Now, what are embryological evidences? Embryology mainly deals with how the zygote development occurs. This process of blastulation, gastrulation, formation of archenterod, and further differentiation of these germ layers, right? So these processes, they look similar both in case of hemichordates and echinoderms. That is, formation of gastrula and the formation of coelom, they are very much similar when in both these phylums. So also the larval forms, the Tornaria larva of Hemichordata and the Bipinnaria larva of Echinoderm, that is the Bipinnaria larva you see in the asteroidians, they are very much similar. So these resemblances between these two larvae and the similarity that you see during the process of embryology is what makes these two phylums to be a close relatives. Now, what are the resemblance or similarities between, how do you establish similarities between these two phylum? One is the presence of identical ciliated band, right? If you have learned about the structure of Tornaria larva, you know that it has a preoral ciliated band and the postoral ciliated band and the telotorch. Even in Bipinnaria, you find preoral and postoral ciliated band. So these ciliated bands resemble similar in both Tornaria and Bipinnaria, except for the fact that eye spots and the telotorch. What is a telotorch? It is a ciliated band that you find towards the posterior end of the Tornaria larva, in which the cilia are little thicker and longer, and by the continuous movement of this telotorch, that helps in that sets the rotational movement of this Tornaria larva. So these eye spots and telotorch is absent in Echinoderm larva or the Bipinnaria larva. Other than that, they show a lot of similarities with the presence of ciliated bands. Then when you come to alimentary canal, they have got same shape and divisions like both the larva. Which larva? Bipinnaria and Tornaria. Both will shows the presence of foregut, the stomach and intestine. So the division of the alimentary canal remains same. And then the blastopore. In case of both Tornaria and Bipinnaria, they form the larval anus. But with annelidans, what happened? In case of trochosphere, it formed the mouth. But in case of Tornaria, it formed anus. Here, both in Tornaria and Bipinnaria, the blastopore gave rise to larval anus. Then, the process of cleavage and gastrulation is similar between Bipinnaria and Tornaria, and the greatest resemblance comes in the way the coelom is formed in both. Okay, so in both the cases, Tornaria and Bipinnaria, the formation of coelom is enterocylous and it is divided into three regions. In case of Hemichordata, it is divided into three and we call it as protocele, which is a cavity of proboscis, mesocele, the cavity of the collar, and the metacele, the cavity of the trunk. Whereas in case of Echinoderm, again you have three cavities, which is called as the axocele, the hydrocele and the somatocele. So in both the cases, this origin of coelom is similar, wherein it is enterocylous in origin, and in both it is divided into three: protocele, mesocele and metacele in hemichordates, axocele, hydrocele and somatocele in case of echinoderms. And if you consider the heart vesicle in hemichordates, which is present in the proboscis coelom, it is similar or it is homologous with the madreporic vesicle of echinoderms. Fine. So these are the very close resemblances that you find between hemichordates and echinoderms. At the same time, there are some minute differences between these two phylum, that is the presence of absence of eye spot, apical plate and telotorch in Bipinnaria, which you find in Tornaria larva. These are some minute differences that you find. Now, what is our conclusion keeping all these things in mind? We know now what are the characters with which hemichordates resemble chordates, in what way they differ from chordates, in what way they resemble with annelids, what are their differences, now what are the affinities with echinoderms, and how do they differ from echinoderms. When you put all this in a single frame, you can say that the close resemblance of these hemichordates comes with echinoderms when compared to the chordates, and hence it should be more suitable to place them after echinoderms because they show a very strong resemblance between Bipinnaria and the Tornaria larva, which says that these two phylums are very closely related, and hence it is suitable to place them after echinoderms and then the protochordates and the chordates. Now, our conclusion with after all this discussion is that these hemichordates, they have arisen from a common ancestor. Now, which is a common ancestor? Like if you see the evolutionary tree, for example, now if this is an evolutionary tree from which all other phylums are originating, these echinoderms, they have ended as a blind branch wherein they are totally different organisms. They have different kind of symmetry, they have different kind of habitat. So they are branched out as a separate blind branch, whereas the hemichordate and chordates, they have continued on this main branch of evolution, whereas the echinoderms have come out as a blind branch from this main evolutionary tree. And here what has happened, the echinoderms have branched out. I'll write it a little more clearly. If this is the evolutionary line, here the echinoderms has branched out like this, and here you have chordates, and here you have hemichordates, and here you have echinoderms. So what is it telling to us? Echinoderms have deviated a little from the main branch of evolution and they form a blind branch. Why we call it as blind branches? You don't have any other organism coming or originating from echinoderms. So they just form a blind branch from the main branch of evolution, and then the main branch continues giving rise to hemichordates and chordates. So, but these hemichordates that are formed on the main branch is very close to echinoderms, and hence you get all these larval resemblances. Why you get such a close resemblance between Tornaria larva and Bipinnaria larva is that they are placed very close on this evolutionary tree. Understood? So with this what we can conclude? We can conclude that these echinoderms, they originated as a blind branch, and whereas hemichordates and chordates, they have originated from common ancestral stock, and it is believed that these two hemichordate and chordate, they have originated from a larva called as Dipleurella larva or Dipleura larva. Now, this Dipleura larva is an hypothetical larva of echinoderms which was stated by Bather in the year 1900. This was stated by Bather in the year 1900. Now, why we call it as an hypothetical larva is it is assumed that such kind of larva existed which showed more resemblance to Tornaria larva and also with that of the Bipinnaria larva, and it is from this, the dipleural larva, which has given rise to the hemichordates and the chordates. So, hemichordates, because of all this, hemichordates are placed as a separate invertebrate phylum after echinoderms and before chordates. Understood? So, this describes, by now you know the exact systemic position of hemichordata. That means why these hemichordates are placed after echinoderms before the protochordates. What is its significance? We have discussed all the story behind it, and then we have also learned about the affinities of hemichordata with respect to the chordates, affinities with chordates, and we have learned about affinities with annelidans, and we have also learned about affinities with echinoderms. I hope you all understood and I have put the concept clear. If you have any doubts, we will discuss further. Thank you.